Good evening. I will call to order the Finance Committee meeting on April 23rd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. We have 8 items on the agenda this evening. Communication from Mayor Dumas' proposed tax increment financing agreement, a TIF. Communication from the mayor, transfer request in the amount of $784,320 from Economic Development to MEDC funding for FY 2026 operating budget, and transfer request of $150,000 from the Economic Development to MEDC to fund the Economic Development Toolbox. Communication from the mayor, MWRA lead loan program bond request in the amount of $750,000. Communication from the mayor, proposed ordinance to amendment to City Code, Chapter 125, Personnel, Section 6, Salary Schedule. Communication from the mayor, transfer request of $147,581.95 from reserve for salaries to various accounts to fund collective bargaining agreement with the Police Command Officers Association. Communication from the mayor, transfer request in the amount of $167,302.32 from reserve for salaries to fund the cost of living adjustment COLA and stipend for all non-union employees. Communication from the mayor, grant acceptance in the amount of $450,000. And also a communication from the mayor, transfer request in the amount of $63,600 from reserve for salaries for salary, sick leave buyback for the mayor's office and the police department. For the Finance Committee, we will not be taking up order number 1 on the agenda. We will take that up at a later date. They will be needing some more time to prepare for the meeting. So with that said, I'll go to agenda number 2, order number 25-100-9408, communication from mayor, transfer for $784,320 from Economic Development to MEDC funding for the FY 2026 operating budget of MEDC, and a transfer request in the amount of $150,000 for Economic Development to MEDC funding for the Economic Development Toolbox. Before I begin, I'll read the letter submitted by the mayor. Dear President Ossing and Councils, enclosed for your review and approval are 2 transfer requests from the Economic Development to the Marlboro Economic Development Corporation, MEDC, in the amount of $784,320 to fund the operating budget and $150,000 to fund the existing toolbox program. The Marlboro Economic Development Corporation is a recognized leader in business development, attraction, and retention with the Commonwealth, contributing to a stable and predictable tax rate for our residents in Marlboro, in addition to helping to secure a large-scale investment such as $25 million sativa through their expansion project this past year. MEDC also remains committed to fostering innovation and community engagement, as demonstrated through the initiatives such as the Pop-Up Shop Program, Toolbox Program, Food Truck and Arts Festival, and comprehensive small business support efforts, which can be seen throughout our community year after year. Included for your review is the FY 2026 operating budget, a narrative from Executive Director Meredith Harris. The 2 transfers are also included for your review and approval. Executive Director Meredith Harris will be available at a future meeting to answer any questions you may have. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. Good evening, Director.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Welcome to your team. Certainly, you always have my support, but I will let you do the introductions, and you can expound a little bit on your budget.
Sure. I'm joined tonight, most of you know, but Linda Martins, Director of Operations at MEDC. We're excited to be here with you guys tonight with 2 requests, one to fund our operating budget and another to continue with the toolbox. I think you all know a lot of what we do, but business development for the city, also community development, hospitality, sports tourism, things of that nature, but happy to open it up and answer any questions that you guys might have.
Thank you, Director. I'm pretty excited because I'm thinking we're going to need your help for the next couple of years. Just reading the economic tea leaves out there, they're talking about over $3 trillion that will be invested into the U.S. economy. $55 billion of that is from Johnson & Johnson. Not to say that we could get that, but that was the light bulb over my head. But with that,
love a challenge, Councilor.
Yeah, that's a great challenge. So what I'm basically saying, we're going to absolutely need your help and assistance moving forward. and, economically, that's going to help to expand the tax base. With that, I'll open it up to the rest of the finance team and council. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Meredith and Linda, for joining us tonight, as well as Lindsay. Oh, so I want to thank you for this very well-detailed and outlined budget that you presented. It's just, for the record and anyone listening, it is level funded at an increase of approximately 2.9% over the current fiscal year, and everything that I have seen from MEDC has been, it really has exceeded my expectations. Like, as I've learned about what you and your office does, I feel like every time I hear more, it's like, wow, they do that too. And so as a counselor, I've reached out to you about various things, and you've always taken all of my questions seriously, even though some of the things that I come up with can be so far out there. You've never made me feel like any of my ideas were silly, so I really appreciate that. The work that you do with the toolbox grants, I've seen it in play in the community. Some of the businesses that you've highlighted in here, Spirit in Motion, the Classic Pizza, Ember and Alma. I've been to these places, and I've seen the way that the businesses have utilized the grant money from the toolbox. So I am in support of this. I don't have any questions, because I feel like any questions I had were answered last year, because there's nothing new. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Ficcillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very similarly, no questions for you guys. I've been a big fan of the work that you do. Just off the top of my head, I mean, it seems like the economic development funding has been steadily coming through. No concerns there. I mean, with a minimal increase to the budget, I don't see any issues. So I would move the recommendation to, I know we usually take this in two steps.
Thank you, Councilor. We will do this in two. The first vote will be the budget. Second vote will be for the toolbox. Yes, sir.
I move to approve the MEDC budget.
Motion has been made. I will second that to approve order number 25-9408, transfer of $784,320 from economic development to MEDC funding for the FY 2026 operating budget. That is $784,320. Any
Mr.
further
Chair.
discussion? Oh, Councilor.
Thank you. I'd second that motion for the purpose of discussion, if it wasn't seconded already. Have a couple questions. I'm not picking on you, as I was accused last year of. By no means. I have questions, and so I'll start with some of my questions. We talked about commercial space about a half year ago, I think it was, and how it's kind of dwindling, and curious how we're doing at this point.
In terms of vacancy, or?
Vacancies, yeah.
So our overall commercial and industrial vacancy rate is 11.3 right now, which is decent. It's healthy. We do still have some space that's left available. One in particular, 1000 Nickerson, which is some new space that's still on the market. So we are actively trying to help them find tenants to fill that building. The smaller blocks of space are becoming more as the work from home shift. People are still that's all starting to come to fruition. Are people working from home? Or are they coming back to the office? So we are starting to see some spaces come back online, but nothing to be concerned of at this point.
What was through your years and career here, what was our best rate for vacancy?
It has typically stayed pretty stable around that number. I mean, from what I can remember, we have definitely hit like the 10s at one point, but it has stayed at 11.3 for quite some time.
Yeah, a few years.
I have questions on the toolbox, but I'll save that for the next vote. And again, I agree with Councilor Brown. Very good budget, the 2.9%, I saw that. Had a couple questions on some of the expenses. So it's on the page that mentions special projects. And we see 4 different areas. And if it wasn't, I couldn't find it, but if you could explain a little bit about the business retention. Where's the 86,500 going to? If you have the information tonight, that would be great.
I'm sorry, so you're saying?
So it's on.
Business retention, so that's our entire BR&E program. So that's any type of business attraction and retention that we're doing. So whether it's, going out to meetings, to trade shows or things of that nature to talk to the Modernas of the world or the Quest Diagnostics to try and attract them to Marlboro. You're also going to see in that line a lot of our media buy campaigns, things that we're promoting in different publications across the United States. So things like that, anything that has to do with business attraction and retention.
Is it like the Phantom Gourmet when you have them come into town to do overview of our restaurants? Is that different?
That one, Linda, what line item?
Under hospitality and sports
Hospitality.
tourism.
Next one.
Yep.
Excellent. And then the last one was the urban, I know about the city planner, and again, I'm in disagreement that our city planner isn't within house here, but the urban village and community development,
So that one is, years ago, it used to be just downtown. It was like a beautification program where we did the blade signs and some different landscape programs, things like that. We actually, we expanded it to include the Lincoln Street neighborhood business district as well. And so we work with DPW each year to do different types of beautification projects, anything that's going to increase the aesthetic or add value to the downtown or the Lincoln Street area.
so on Lincoln Street, is that the entire strip, or is that where the new development was put in Alta?
No, that's the neighborhood business district, which is the entire.
All the way up to the end?
Correct. Yep.
Up near the Prospector, too?
That's
in
right.
that area
Yep.
as well?
Yep.
Thank you. Bob will be happy I asked that question. I'm very happy to see you have internship summer programs, and that will continue.
Correct.
And there's a few things in here that, I look at it, and not your issue, because you have to have a place to be housed, you have to have accounting, you have to have your benefits. I just don't see an economy to scale, and that's, again, it's the model that you have that concerns me, not the employees. You guys do a great job, and my compliments on the mayor's charity event. That was fantastic. I know you had a lot to do with it. Meredith happened to catch me on Friday before it. And
I
said,
just want to be clear, that is not through MEDC, that is us as residents volunteering our
You
time.
did a great job as a resident. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. When I saw you Friday, I thought you were overwhelmed, so I didn't know if that was yours. But some of the other questions, a couple more. Dues and subscriptions, $23,500. What is that for?
So the biggest chunk of that, it goes towards a service called CoStar. So that's what we use to track all of the open, the vacancy rate that you were just talking about. So that's how we track any type of movement in the market. So it's a service that we use if a business calls and says, hey, I'm looking for this type of a space with these types of specs, I need a loading dock, I need this. It's a service that we're able to go in and plug in what they're looking for, which allows us to play a role of site selector with the businesses that are looking to come in.
Is that how we may have seen the crime lab? Did they go through you in that same CoStar process?
Not that one. I mean, we typically will utilize that for smaller, maybe 25 to 50,000 square foot tenants. But it is really helpful when, somebody comes to us and they're not necessarily working through a broker, but they're looking to see what we have available in the city. We're able to do a really specialized search for them.
So you have to pay them a subscription fee. That's not free. You just,
Correct.
CoStar is
That's
too
right,
bad.
yes.
Like I said, those are my only questions. The economy of scale, obviously, I know it's the model that you have. I'd love to see economic development within the city government, not a separate entity. I think it would be best. You look throughout Massachusetts, and I've done surveys. We're very unique in all respects. And Marlboro's a great community. We got highway access, we got water, we got sewer. We're a magnet, in my view. We're a great location, and you do need to sell it. Don't get me wrong, you do need to sell it. But I work for other communities where I see it being sold under the town or city government. So, again, that's something you can't change, and I get it, and I wouldn't be asking you to. But it's concerning me as a councilor, because this year, we're already heard it before at the previous meeting, budgets are going to be tight, tough. And it's hard for me as a city councilor to support $754,000. That's my view, because I have to answer to the residents of Marlboro. So it's a lot of money. And I see the economy of scale and others can comment, but I see it when it comes to being within the House. having your budget, not your budget, but your accounting within house, and heat and utilities and all that adds up, as you know. Even your benefits add up. We have better benefits over here, if I could sell you on that. You get
I'm
retirement.
very happy where I am. Thank you.
I'm not trying to sell you. I'm just saying, in my view, you know, the economy of scale is what I'm looking at as a city councilor, not, you know, but again, thank you for what you do. I'm not in any way concerned about what you do for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Navin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Meredith, Linda, the whole team. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to echo a little bit what Councilors Brown and Fucillo and Irish said with doing a little bit of kudos to you all. You guys do great work. I think everybody knows that. Your reputation here in the city, and quite frankly, the reputation that you've given the city during the past, at least my time on the council, and I know quite a bit before then, really does speak for itself. The wins that you've had this year with Cytiva and landing the state crime lab, I know we have had this conversation. It's not something that is trumpeted within the city's media environment, and that can be for many reasons, many of which is we don't have much of a media environment these days. I don't think people realize what a win that is. And it is a credit to the hard work of your office and the mayor. We've had this conversation, but in my day-to-day, I get to talk to people across eastern Massachusetts at the municipal level, and they talk a lot about when they find out I'm from Marlborough. The comments are always the same. It is, what are you guys doing out there? You guys are just beating everybody else. And a lot of it is directly attributable to the work that you guys do, taking advantage of some of the things Councilor Orem just said, right? We have water and we have sewer. Everybody has water and sewer. However, we do have the finest drinking water in the nation. And because of that, we are able to take quite a bit of advantage of it. But the fact that you guys are out there hustling every day, and I would add a comment to some of the things that Councilor Orem just said, because of the structure that you have within our organization and outside of our organization as municipal government, I think is what sets you apart. And it does give you the ability to go out and be more agile and be more flexible and be more creative about some of the things that you're able to do that land us the companies that make us the envy of the region. And so hats off to you. This is a lot of money. And I hesitate to say this, and I recognize that we are coming up on an election year. It is short money. And it is money that you are generating through the work that you do, because it is funded through the hotels tax, and you are directly generating the money. That the training aspect of the Cytiva deal that you guys work so hard on is going to bring in incredible tourism. Those people are going to stay in our hotels. Those taxes are going to fund this organization, and it is a direct benefit. So it is kudos to you all for the work that you have done. And, again, as it is going to be an election year, as we all dread and we'll look forward to in November, we are all going to trot out the same and tired answer to the question of, what do you see for downtown? What do you want to do? What's your biggest initiative? And then we're all going to sit there and go, we need to drive more people downtown. And you guys are always leading that charge, and you are having that conversation, and I really appreciate it. I look forward to working with MEDC, and we're going to do some great stuff downtown. But the seeds that you have planted are starting to come home, and that is a kudos to you. And I'm going to just say my toolbox bit now, so I don't have to talk again. But, you guys came in this kind of 30,000-foot global big business. This is who we are. This is how we're going to drive this economy. This toolbox program that you have worked on is having real impacts for small businesses that are the backbone of our community, and you are helping them in a way that perhaps people don't know. And you guys approach business development from a holistic standpoint. It is good for the businesses, it is good for our community, and it is driving our city forward. So thank you. No questions.
Thank you.
Thanks. Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I need to echo a lot of what Councilor Navin was saying as far as the work that you guys do, in capturing some businesses. That we got Moderna blows me away still. I mean, that's a huge, quiet facility, for us to have this here, as well as other ones continuing to come in, the state crime lab and all that stuff. So, your funding is done through hotel taxes, and and at this point, I think this is fine because we have enough hotel taxes to cover it. And as long as that continues, I think we're fine, at least from that perspective. Hopefully, that's not going to change, you know. And I'll also talk about the toolbox, and thank you for that. I appreciate this.
Sure.
She printed out just a list of who was getting the toolboxes and when. And they're all small businesses, and they're all still around. And that's kind of what I was asking for. You know, like, of the money that's been going out, how many are still there? Just a general question. And all these names I still recognize. So that's, you know, there might be a few that I don't, but that's okay. But I think that's important, that, you know, we have this opportunity for small businesses and large businesses, you know, to help them move forward in the city. And having that, those resources is critical to attract businesses of all sizes. And I think you guys continue to, you know, knock it out of the park. I think the economics of scale reference is because you're so small compared to the city. If you were city employees, that would, you know, we could cover it on a greater scale. But I think the arm's reach away from the city has benefits in negotiations, okay? And we really can't ignore that, you know, when it comes into businesses coming in and talking to someone. It's, you know, we do things different, and this is what we can do. And you have a track record now that they can go back to and, oh, you did this and this. So I think overall, the more you do this, I think the more attraction there will be for getting people into Marlboro. So,
If I can just comment on that, we call it the secret sauce at the office, and we've had more calls in the past 6 months of our neighboring communities to try to find out what is your secret sauce, how do you guys do what you do, and so I think the model is becoming very well known in the Commonwealth, but nobody's been able to emulate it to date. So I think we are very unique, but I think puts us in a very special position to be able to do things that we wouldn't be able to do if we weren't.
There was a state law, I think it was a home rule petition to start MEDC.
Absolutely.
So it has to start with some other city or municipality deciding to do that.
Or not. Don't
not.
give them the idea.
Well, so far, no one's got the clue yet, so,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
But yes, okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Counselor.
you.
Thank you, Councilor Seh. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the MED. Oh, Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to recognize some of the stuff that MEDC does from a hospitality and business standpoint. So from a hospitality standpoint, runs under the radar, but you go into any of the restaurants and ask them who trains some of their staff on tips, who trains some of their staff on CPR, and the stuff that doesn't get a whole lot of press. But our restaurants benefit, and ultimately, we benefit. As far as how it's funded through a hotel tax. So I'm going to tell you, schools looking for an 11% increase. That's coming from the taxpayer. Cable that we just approved, 8% increase, is coming from the taxpayer. The MEDC, 2.9%, level funded. If I could get the rest of everybody else to fall in line with that, this would be a very easy budget cycle. All right? And we don't even know what the city side's coming in at yet. But what they're asking is basically level funded with just salary adjustments like everybody else gets. And a product that they produce is outstanding. And the last piece is, even though MEDC brings the Cytivas, the BJs, Sartoriuses, and now the Crime Lab, this body is the one that has to approve the TIF. They can bring them here, but we have to do the legwork that says, go approve the TIF. All right? And so this body gets credit for that part of the program. All right? So, I mean, they're doing a good job bringing it in, but you know, we get the ultimate, because we'll be the ones that get the feedback for did we do it a good job or not on the companies that we've selected. And those are all top-rate companies that have been coming to Marlboro. All right? And then I will continue to pitch. The city does not lose a dime on a TIF. And I will bang that drum as loud as I can. And finally, as far as bringing MEDC into the city side, we don't have to pay pension. We don't have to pay OPEB. They are the most, and you can see it by the percentage of the budget that they're asking for their increase. We are getting such a good deal with the performance of the MEDC staff. We all should be proud of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very good points. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the MEDC transfer request for the operating budget FY 2026. All in favor? All opposed? Carries 4-1. Thank you. Next up, thank you, Linda, also for the Toolbox Incentive Program grant.
problem.
Thank you very much. With that said, I will entertain a motion for the Toolbox transfer.
Mr. Chair, if I
Councilor.
may. Councilor Brown was ahead of me. Go ahead.
Councilor Brown.
Councilor Brown.
I was just going to move to approve the $150,000 to replenish the toolbox fund.
Motion's been made. I will second that to approve the transfer request in the amount of $150,000 from Economic Development to MEDC funding for the Economic Development Toolbox. Any further discussion? Councilor Orm.
And I'll say it with a smile, this is a fantastic, fantastic program. Helps our small businesses. It's not a lot of money, it's $150,000. I think it's the best thing about the whole program is to help our small businesses as well. So it kind of complements drawing in larger businesses at the same time helping our community, especially our small business community. So
Good point.
I'm 100% in support of the toolbox. Thank you.
Councilor Vital.
I just would like to add, I'd like to just a quick little snippet, if you would, about how the approval process gets done and how accounts receivables get done.
Sure. So I'll start with the approval process. So we have what's called the Toolbox Committee. We actually, Dan Stanhope is here, sits on the Toolbox Committee, who's also our treasurer at MEDC. But we have a group of board members that review all of the applications. So I should take it back a step. Linda takes all the applications in at the office, works with the applicant to put together a package that then goes to the subcommittee. The subcommittee will then take a vote on the application, and then it comes to the executive committee for final either approval or denial. From an accounts receivable standpoint, that's Linda, part of her job is to manage all of the toolbox grants, the money that's going out, making sure that we're receiving all of the appropriate paperwork that goes along with it. All of the programs are reimbursement, so we need to see receipts for everything that's purchased, rent, if it's their receipt from their landlord, all of those things. Linda manages all of that intake.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Vital. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It'll come as no surprise. I'm on that executive committee, and I track the budget monthly, and I have all my sheets if anybody wants to see them, and I torture them just as I do all my favorite department heads. There is no, and I can say with all confidence, the money being spent at MEDC is being spent wisely. Thank you, Mr.
Good
Chair.
point. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the $150,000 to fund the existing toolbox program. All in favor? It carries 5-0. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, up next is agenda item order number 25-100-9409, communication from the mayor. MWRA lead loan program bond request in the amount of $750,000 to replace galvanized and brass water services pursuant to new Mass DEP regulations. I'll begin by reading the letter from the mayor. Honorable President Ossing and councilors, enclosed for your approval is a capital bond request in the amount of $750,000 to authorize the city to borrow funds through the Mass Water Resources Authority lead loan program. Please see the enclosed memorandum from Ted Scott, acting DPW, which is now the commissioner, detailing city's lead service line replacement program. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact my office. J. Christian Dumas, Mayor.
Mr. Chair, before you go too far, just a point of order. Councilor Navin recused himself. He's not here, just for the record.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mr. Councilor Orm. Good evening, City Engineer DePercio. How are you?
Good evening, Councilor Irish. So thanks for having us here and for considering this bond request. Just a little bit of background.
Thank you.
So we in Marlborough continue to be at the forefront of compliance with these EPA and DEP regulations that come from the EPA lead and copper rule and revisions to that. About 5 years ago, that told cities and towns that they have to start to develop first inventories of all the water services that are made of lead, and then set goals to replace all those with the objective to get potential for lead to leach into drinking water from these pipes. So we at Marlboro, really at the very beginning, went ahead and thanks to the consideration of the City Council to help fund it through a no-interest loan from the MWRA. Over the past 5 years, we have replaced 1,350 lead water services in the city. And we really, I think, as far as I know, if not the furthest along, one of the towns in the state that's furthest along. There's cities and towns in the region that are really just trying to get a handle on their inventory still, and we're really kind of near the finish line of this project. Because we were early into doing the work, as we went through this work, some of the, I'll say the goalposts slid a little bit, or there were some added mandates that came that had to do with services also that are made of other materials that aren't copper, like brass or galvanized steel. Because they can have lead fittings associated with them. So we're at the point in our project where we're down to approximately 59 to 75 of these remaining services that it's really just, we just want to be done with this, to be honest. It's been a long project, and there's an opportunity to get another no-interest loan to fund this kind of last leg of the project. And so I just want to also give a shout out to my staff at engineering and Mark for managing this. I mean, it's
Good evening,
been,
Mark.
if you can imagine,
Good to see you, Mark.
over 1,000 services in 5 years through the city, and really what I think is minimal disruption to daily life. And so it was a huge undertaking, and it was really successful. And so this, again, this last loan is to fund that last piece of it.
Now, obviously, because it's a 10-year interest-free, the goal would be to try to complete this within those 10 years.
Yeah, the work will be completed. We're ready to put it out to bid, and the work will be completed within a year, I would say. I mean, it's
right.
We've kind of got it down now.
Yeah.
As long as we get another good contractor,
And you can
this will be a kind of one construction season.
Then you'd be able to finish those up.
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the repayment terms, which I confess I don't fully understand how all that works, but it's a 10-year repayment.
Repayment.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's interest-free, so I like that.
Yep.
Council Vital.
Thank you, gentlemen, for getting ahead on this important issue. I'd like to, this is a no-brainer to me. I'd like to make a motion to approve the bond request in the amount of $750,000 to replace the galvanized and brass water services.
Motion has been made, and I will second that to approve order number 25-100-9409, MWRA loan, lead loan program bond request in the amount of $750,000 to replace galvanized and brass water service pursuant to the new Mass DEBT regulations. Any further discussion? Councilor.
I just had a question, Tom. You said it quickly, but how many connections do we have left to do approximately?
So I think 59 is the number in the application.
59?
It may be as many as 75.
Okay.
And it's the 75 number that we kind of used to roughly estimate how much this bond.
It's about 10,000 a
request would be.
connection, give or
Yeah.
take.
Yep.
Thank you. I missed it. I thought you said 159, but 59. Thank you. To 75.
Councilor Vital. I'm sorry, Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I remember this came up 5 years ago. So, a couple of things. First is you're changing the feed into the house, right? The piping in the house is not being changed at all. So that, and the homeowners understand that as you go in and make these changes, right? Just, because especially with the older houses, you may find out there's still lead pipes in the houses.
Right, or lead solder in the joints, yeah. So that's
Yeah.
part of the notifications that
Okay.
the EPA requires that we send
That
out.
type of notification and all that, okay. And then, what, is it going to be replaced with copper? Is that the intent?
Yep.
Okay, so, so we actually did over 1,300 replacements already. It's amazing. So when you came, okay, one final thing, because it seems that when you came back 5 years ago, you said, here we go, this is it. Coming back now, it's like, oh, wait, there's this little, there's this outliers that still need to get done. After you're done with this, is there anything else that may come back to bite us?
So, part of this is because they added this requirement for brass and
Okay.
galvanized steel.
That come from the Fed or the state?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
What's that? I'm sorry.
yeah, who,
Oh,
which
it's-
one of the two?
It's both. It's EPA and DEP that
Okay,
kind of
okay.
both on that.
So, I mean, 5 years later, we're, the rules have changed, we have to adapt to it. Something like this could happen again down the pike.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too many other types of materials for the water services that.
Okay.
So there, our records aren't perfect, so the inventories and the records that we use to come up with these lists are hand notes on cards that are over 100 years old, inspectors, in 1905 or whatever.
Sure.
So, and over the years, parts of those might have been fixed, and we don't know how much. So there's always going to be a little unknown. But we've gone through it, multiple iterations of this now.
Right.
That, I think we're
Yeah.
pretty confident that we got,
I think you guys have done amazing work here, seriously. This is great, and it's just, my first reaction seeing this, oh, yet again, type of thing. But it's not downplaying the work that you do, just more things that you need to keep an eye out for. So,
Right.
thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark, Tom, great job. Appreciate all the work, and Tom, I appreciate all the responses to my numerous questions on the item. I would ask if the Finance Committee votes favorably, if they would be able to suspend the rules on Monday evening to approve this, to allow the city to get started on the project.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
thank you.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the $750,000 bond request with a suspension. All in favor? It carries 5-0. Thank you. Up next is order number 25-100-9411, communication from the mayor. Proposed ordinance amendment to the City Code, Chapter 125, Personnel, Section 6, Salary Schedule, relative to the positions of part-time assistant electrical and plumbing inspectors. And I will read the letter submitted by the mayor. Dear Council President Ossing and councilors, enclosed for your review and approval is a proposed rate increase for our part-time positions of the assistant electrical and plumbing inspectors. According to the attached memorandum from Building Commissioner Tin Tway, the current inspection rate paid by the city is considerably lower than those of smaller neighboring communities. As a result of the department has faced challenges retaining inspectors at this lower rate, leading to delays in local projects across the city. It is important to my administration that we recognize and support the needs of our departments. Please do not hesitate to contact me or my office with any questions. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioner Tway. Now, I want to say thank you, too, for submitting some other communities, what they are paying. I do support this because I know the amazing amount of work that comes out of your office. I don't know if you want to comment on that from some of the surrounding communities, with the, for the pay rate and everything like that, and how you kind of came to that conclusion, but I do support that.
We have excellent staffing, but the team, and we can be competitive with our salaries,
Oh, thank you.
Sorry. Starting again, yes, we have excellent staffing, but to retain them, we do need to stay competitive with what we're paying them from salary range and also the rate of pay for these assistant plumbing and assistant electrical wiring inspectors. So, it's a fairly simple request. It's been a while, I think over 10 years since they received a rate increase. So, and I don't want to lose these folks. They're well-trained. They're also very efficient, and so we want to stay competitive. So they've taken, at a point in time, there was other priorities because they work other jurisdictions, and they were taking those calls over ours. So we were falling behind in our level of service, and that's one of the reasons I brought this to my attention. So
So another community could get
Yes.
the inspection first?
Yep.
prior to Marlboro. Okay,
Correct.
thank you. Councilor Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How many of these contractors do you bring in on an annual basis?
The inspectors, we have 2 part-time wiring and 1 plumbing. So we've been trying to recruit more, but it's very difficult. And also within the industry, they're aging out, so finding people, training them, it's difficult. So.
Then my second question is, based on the salary information that you provided from other municipalities, why isn't the recommendation to go to $45 an hour?
We thought it was a middle ground, that it would be fair for both, for our budgeting purposes, that we could retain them at that rate.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Tim, for joining us. I was just curious, so when the inspectors go to sites to do their inspections, do they use their personal vehicles? If they do they get any reimbursement?
Yes, they do use their personal vehicles. They're supposed to get reimbursement for their mileage. They don't always turn it in, but yes, it is within the process. And we have a budget item for mileage and in-state travel.
Okay, thank you. And then I was also wondering about how long would a typical inspection take an inspector to perform? I know that different sites are different sizes, but...
It depends. So, like for Alta French Hill, they may spend 2-3 hours there because they're doing a block of units, and there'll be maybe 2 inspections in each one of those units, and they may do 30 of them in a day. And then that's just one location. Then they may have throughout the city they're covering. Also, when the regular inspector is on leave, sick, vacation, whatever, or there's an overload, they'll fill in there too. So they do respond to other things, and special projects sometimes will have things. So it does vary. There's responsibilities, but they're enforcing the codes and the disciplines that they're under.
Thank you. And so the people who perform inspections, are they essentially dedicated to performing inspections in our municipality, or are they able to, is it a full-time position, I
No,
guess?
it's not. It's a part, this role is a part-time as needed. So a lot of them own their own companies, and they do this on the side. The assistant plumbing inspector, I don't know if he still actively runs his own company, but he covers 5 other jurisdictions. So, and they're busy. They're flat out busy. So some days they couldn't come to Marlboro at all. And so we were waiting 2, 3, 4 days sometimes.
That's actually what I was wondering is if, because, if you have an inspector and you have a list of inspections that need to be done here at $25 per inspection, or they could go to Northborough. And so I was just wondering if that was kind of affecting the rate at which we're getting things done.
Yes, and it was affecting our level of service.
So I fully support this, especially from my perspective in my own employment. When I have a new teacher come in and I train them, and then they find out they could maybe make a little bit more money down the road. Sometimes that's not even a better school or a better program, but people chase the money. So I am fully in support of this, and I move to approve the rate change as presented.
Motion has been made. I will second that to approve the proposed ordinance amendment to the City Code, Chapter 125, Personnel, Section 6, salary schedule relative to the position of part-time assistant electrical plumbing inspector for $40 per inspection. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Councilor Orman.
Thank you. I'm kind of concerned, as I think Councilor Vital brought it up too, are we at that right point, or should we be, when I'm looking at 95% of permit fee in Berlin, what's that drawing out, do you know?
I'm not sure exactly how they came up with their, Berlin is, Berlin, right?
Berlin, yeah.
Yeah. They have a unique process. So there's a lot of farm community, residential, but every once in a while they'll have a large commercial project coming in. So I didn't speak with them directly on how they came up with that. It is rather unusual, their setup. I think they're overpaying them a little bit, so.
Could be. And based on what we're planning to do is to go to $40 per inspection, what are we collecting in fees? Are we at least, percent-wise, are we at least 50% collecting?
I believe so. I did look into it. Where on the residential side, I would recommend a rate increase there. I think it's low, especially on the plumbing side. And on the electrical side, probably restructuring how the fees are calculated instead of doing it by fixtures or type, but do it more by construction cost. That way it stays in line with, as construction increases, we stay in line with that aspect, so.
And I support this. I respect the fact that we could be losing people if other communities are paying more. And, they have to have knowledge. They have to have expertise. So with that said, I'm in support of this as well. Thank you.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the proposed ordinance amendment to the city code. All in favor? Carries 5-0. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Up next is order number 25-100-9406, communication from the mayor, transfer of $147,581.95 from reserve for salaries to various accounts to fund the collective bargaining agreement with the Police Command Officers Association, Local 366. I'll begin by reading the letter submitted by the mayor. Honorable President Ossing and councilors, I am pleased to submit for your review and approval a transfer to fund the collective bargaining agreement between the City and Marlborough Police Command Officers Association Local 366, Mass COP, IUPA, AFL-CIO, collectively the union. I would like to express my gratitude to Chief Georgie, our Human Resources Director, and the union for their dedication and collaboration in reaching a fair and equitable agreement. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact my office. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. And I'll open that up if any questions for the Finance Committee. Councilor Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just curious of this amount. What percentage of an increase is this? Do we know the percentage that they agreed to in the CBA?
I don't know the negotiated percentage. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations on getting this one done.
Can you please repeat the question, Councilor? Through you, Mr. Chair.
The question was, what's this dollar amount? What percentage of an increase is that over the last CBA?
The total increase for the 3-year contract?
Yes, please.
I believe it's about 11%. But
11% over 3 years?
So we are still negotiating with other contracts as well. So, yes, but they're pretty even across the board. So I believe it was about 11% total with the incentives that are rolled in.
Is it 443 or is it?
No, so the COLA based upon the contract is 222, and then there's other incentives that are rolled in.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Vital. Councilor Orm.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, to the mayor. On the overview of it, I noticed overtime regular, this expense there. Where do we stand with our staffing ratio? Not ratio, but our staffing. Are we down a few command officers and have to use overtime?
I don't know that answer. I can find that for you.
Yeah, I always have asked the police chief that during budget time, so I can ask at that time as well. But I just want to make sure our police department is properly staffed. So that's why I always look at overtime. It may say something to that, but you don't have to answer now. We can wait for the budget time period, but thank you.
I believe Officer Nays is retiring, so as of tomorrow. So, yeah. So we'll be down at least one. But
Thank you, Councilor. And excuse me, Mr. Mayor, and still working on negotiation with the with one more contract, or?
That is correct. So we still have Fire, who met last night as a union, so they're going to come back to the table after that meeting last night. As of this morning, I believe MMEA just agreed to the terms, so they have to vote on that contract. In labor, we are at an impasse, so we are setting dates to go to arbitration. So, and that's the final three. So we are close, but yet still so very far, it feels like. So,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
Council Vital.
Make a motion to approve the transfer of $147,581.95 from the reserve for salaries in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement with the Police Command Officers Association.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve order number 25-100-9406, transfer of $147,581.95 from reserve for salaries to various accounts to fund the collective bargaining agreement with the Police Command Officers Association Local 366. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Up next is order number 25-100-9407, communication from the mayor, transfer in the amount of $167,302.32 from reserve for salaries to various accounts to fund a cost of living adjustment, a COLA, and stipend for all non-union employees. I'll begin by reading the letter submitted by the mayor. Honorable President Ossing and councilors, in keeping with the practices of the previous administration, I am pleased to submit for your review and approval a request for a transfer to fund a cost of living adjustment, a COLA, and stipend for all non-union employees. The COLA is consistent with the terms agreed upon in our finalized collective bargaining agreements. This transfer will enable the city to acknowledge the contributions of our non-union employees during the collective bargaining agreement negotiations and to provide a deserved adjustment for the COLA. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact my office. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. And I will open that up to the Finance Committee with any questions. Council.
I'll motion to approve.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the transfer in the amount of $167,302.32 from reserve for salaries to various accounts to fund a cost of living adjustment, COLA, and stipend for all non-union employees. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? It carries 5-0. Next up is order number 25-100-9404, communication from Mayor, grant acceptance in the amount of $450,000 awarded to the City of Marlborough for various projects as outlined in the Mayor's letter as part of the fiscal year 2025 state budget earmarks fundings. I'll begin by reading the letter submitted by the Mayor. Dear Council President Ossing and councilors, enclosed for your acceptance are grants in the form of earmarks that were filed and supported by a legislative delegation in the amount of $450,000. Our legislative delegation worked diligently to secure these funds for the following purposes: procurement and installation of security cameras for our Marlborough Community Development Authority, public housing, which is $30,000. Procurement and installation of temporary speed bumps and signage for the traffic calming measures in the city in the amount of $75,000. Building and installation of a covered pavilion at Galone Park, which is $35,000. Procurement of an outreach city vehicle to be used by the City Hall departments in the amount of $50,000. Support the construction of a dog park at Galone Park for $35,000. Replacement of the boiler at City Hall in the amount of $25,000. Funding for the Marlborough Economic Development Corporation shuttle service for the amount of $200,000. I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank Representative Danielle Gregoire and her staff for securing these important funds that help support various projects and initiatives throughout the city. Please do not hesitate to contact my office with any questions. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. And for the finance, we'll take things up in order. Oh, Mr. President.
So if I could, so councilors, the chairman asked the grant sheets be provided, so I had copies of them.
Thank you.
They have my notes on them. Those are my notes in red, so those are my opinions, so you'll hear me speak to them as they come up. They're not necessarily shared by the rest of the council, but just so that you know what the notes are, that's why you have them. But each grant should be taken up on its own merits and voted accordingly by the Finance Committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good point. So the first one is the $30,000 for the security cameras for public housing. Any questions in regards?
Mr. Chair.
Council Fitzgerald, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question, correct me if I'm wrong, but did we receive funding last year for this as well? So is this an expansion of security cameras that have already been installed, or is this just a kind of keeping up with practice? Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly.
I don't believe that we got it
Okay.
last year. We got a fiber grant, so maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Okay,
but-
could be.
Yeah.
All right. And so that's that project is going to be, do we know which buildings exactly we're going to
It'll be
install?
on Pleasant Street and Bolton Street.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Good question, Council Fitzgerald. Council Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a very quick question. These cameras that are going into public housing, are the residents going to be informed that these cameras are going to be installed?
They'll be for outside use, and they will be notified, correct?
Thank you.
There's already cameras on Main Street locations, so now it's just for added safety for the Bolton Street and Pleasant Street locations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Council Vital.
Just, Mr. Chair, just
Councilor.
on that same question, I'd like to just go one step further. Will these cameras be linked to the central base like the police station, or, well, I see our computer guy's already shaking his head yes. You want to let the mayor answer?
That is correct.
That's good, because ironically, I bought a Ring bell just about a month ago, and it's amazing what they pick up. You know, so these cameras are excellent to have for security purposes and safety, so thank you for that consideration. What's that? If you want access, Mr. Gibbs, I'll be glad to give you access. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further questions? I will entertain a motion. Motion is made. I will second that to approve the $30,000 grant for procurement installation of the security cameras for the Marlborough Community Development Authority, public housing. All in favor? Carries 5-0. Next up is the installation of temporary speed bumps and signage for the traffic calming measures in the city, and that one is in the amount of $75,000. Council Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of quick questions about this. I know obviously traffic has been a big hot button issue throughout the city, and we've all tried to address it in different ways, and I know temporary speed bumps have been in the conversation for some time now. From my understanding, going to traffic commission meetings, it appears to me that it's not really in the purview of the traffic commission to be installing speed bumps. Now, maybe temporary speed bumps, but my question is, where exactly do we plan on putting these? Are these going to be used for school zones? Kind of what is the vision of this?
Yeah, so the vision is, that's why they are temporary, so they are movable.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is to move them throughout the city based upon traffic needs and trends.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the idea and the concept. It's a stepping stone to see if we actually want to replace full speed bumps in the long-term feature. But as of right now, it's just a temporary, so they can be utilized and moved accordingly throughout the city.
Sure. Do we know how exactly? I'm just trying to think, who's going to say, like, where they're going to go? Where is the speed bump going to go on this day, this day? Does that go through a formal process like traffic commission, or would it just be the purview of kind of you guys?
Yeah, Counselor, that's kind of like the key question.
Yeah.
It is a traffic commission purview question, so as you can imagine, those requests already do go to traffic commission, and what the commission has been working on over the past several months is a policy by which we can make that decision of where they're appropriate, because they can't be put everywhere. Right. And, you know, there's some unintended consequences that can come from these. You can drive traffic to other neighborhoods. You can slow down emergency response. You can cause drainage problems, noise nuisance. There's all kinds of things that go along with it. So the commission is working on a written policy that will really outline all the steps that we'll go through when a request comes in. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's going to be data collection. If we're going to put these out, we want to know what are they working, you know? So we want to know what the traffic conditions are existing, determine if it's appropriate based on all the different things we need to look at, and then evaluate it while the speed bumps are there, maybe even looking at side streets around there. Are we driving traffic to other streets? And so there's a lot that's going to go into that written policy before we can, that's how that decision will get made ultimately.
No, I appreciate that insight, and I'm looking forward to seeing kind of how we go with this. I know there's been a lot of spitballing about what's the best way to address traffic in Marlboro, so I appreciate that we're taking some steps in what I believe to be, a good direction. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
A very good question, Councilor Fitzgerald. That was a couple of questions that I had too, talking previously with, Commissioner Scott and yourself about speed bumps and Chief Georgie. So great points. Councilor Vidal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm against speed bumps on any public roads. I am in favor of, like, the speed bumps that are on the high school. Even though that might be officially a public road, I think that that's appropriate. I like the speed bumps at Galone Park. That's appropriate. But I don't agree with any type of speed bumps out on public roads for numerous reasons, particularly in my ward. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Orm?
Well, I feel that the local ward councilors are going to be getting lots of calls if this goes through. I'm at large, but when I was in Ward 6, this came up quite a few times, and the police chiefs through the years were against them. I think we do have to vet to some degree where they're safe, and my question, are they just the smaller ones? Are they going to be elongated to some degree so it's a longer speed bump than a very short speed bump? I don't know if that's been detailed out yet or worked out.
No, generally the temporary ones are either very short, like a foot wide, or maybe up to 3 feet wide or so, just because you have to be able to move them around. And so to speak to Councilor Vidal's point about the ones at Porio Drive and at Galone Park, so those, because that question has come up before, we put them there, why can't you put them on, other streets? And really, it was the abundance of pedestrians in those two places that really drove us to say, well, they're appropriate here. There's some crosswalks where there's obviously a lot of people walking there, so that's how those came to be, and I think that's kind of one of the factors that's going to maybe be a warrant for other ones on public roads.
Thank you. If I may, I just had 2 other questions. So, obviously, you'll learn as you go. Will there be signage so that people, especially if it's brand new, don't realize they're driving and all of a sudden, boom, the car falls apart? That would be my car. But curious, there will be signage for these speed bumps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
There'll be signage. Again, this will be part of the policy that we're developing, but there'll be, what I see the final policy is including is making sure an entire neighborhood or street, or most of it anyway, buys in, and it's some percentage of the residents on a street, so they'll kind of know ahead of time. But yeah, there'll be signage that goes out, warning signs.
And last question is related to removal of the speed bumps during snowplow season. Will they be removed? Thank you.
Good question. Councilor Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when I saw the speed bump piece, I was definitely questioning some of the same things Councilor Fucillo had brought up, because historically I just remember, speaking to the police chief, and it seems to be something we've always kind of stayed away from. But with that, just about anything related to traffic and roads and traffic safety, I defer to the Traffic Commission. So if this is something Traffic Commission's creating policy and instruction for use, I am going to defer to Traffic Commission because they're the ones who are the experts on that. So I'm interested to see what it looks like as far as the policy for use. But if this is something that Traffic Commission is supporting, then I would also support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Mr. President.
Tom, how many speed bumps does $75,000 buy us?
A lot. I've started looking just initially at some vendors, and it seems like for 2,000 to 3,000 is what it would cost for one 24-foot long. And of course, there's signage that goes along with it. But I think what we see, some of this funding is maybe some of the speed data collection boxes that we're going to need to collect the data to decide where these go. And we talked to the police chief briefly about that, and he agreed that that would be a good idea too, because again, we want to make sure that we thoroughly vet out where these are going to go and that we've got good data. So between signage and the speed humps themselves and maybe some additional data collection, and I don't know if there's additional a trailer or tools that need to go into these. We're just kind of starting to look at that kind of stuff now. But
Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Ficcillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to move to recommend we approve this grant. And mostly, I feel like this is giving you guys another tool. I feel like as a city, it's our responsibility to give the Traffic Commission the appropriate tools to move forward and to make our traffic in Marlboro safer. And so for me, that's how I see it. And similar to Councilor Brown's point, I think it's important that we equip you guys with those tools and then defer to you also in conversation. I see many councilors at Traffic Commission every month to have these conversations about where it's appropriate or where we'd like to see this sort of stuff go. So I move to approve the grant.
Thank you, Councilor Fitzgerald. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the $75,000 grants in the form of earmarks that will procurement installation of temporary speed bumps and signage for traffic calming measures in the city in the amount of $75,000. All in favor? Carries 5-0. All opposed? 4-1. Thank you, Councilor Vital. Thank you. Next up is building installation of a covered pavilion at Galone Park in the amount of $35,000. I'll open that up to the Finance Committee. Any questions in regards to that?
If not, motion to approve.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the grants in the forms of earmarks in the amount of $35,000 for the pavilion at Galone Park. All in favor? Council, Mr. President.
Discussion first, right?
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. President. Motion was made and said. Any further discussion?
So, Tom, is it design done for this, or is this just a concrete patio? What are we looking at?
So the pavilion, Chuck from Recreation had kind of some preliminary drawings drawn up and an estimate done for a pavilion. And the estimate for that one was about $350,000, I think. And so we looked at that, and between the facilities people and some, their architect, we had drawn up some plans for a pavilion. And the plan now is to use our own forces to build this and to use this $35,000 toward the materials for that. So it's a what are the dimensions again, Mark, approximately?
30 by 48.
30 by 48. So a concrete pad with a wooden pavilion with the roof. So the $35,000 would be used for materials toward that. So it's probably, the whole project is going to be, less than half of that $350,000 initial.
So would that just come out of the Parks and Rec Fund, or where's the money coming to?
The rest of that money, so I can't speak
minor
to
detail.
Dan at facilities.
Mr. President.
That's more him and Ted on that end of it.
Well, speaking to Ted, it would just cover materials, and the materials would be covered by that, and that was what was needed for the actual project as a whole.
Right, but again, the project costs, like a dog park, costs X amount of dollars, but, some we got grants for, some we're paying for. This one, to just say we get $35,000 to go do a pavilion without what the real cost is and where that money's coming from, I think leaves the council in a, not a very good spot to say, why is it a good idea to approve it until we know that information?
Sure. Understandable.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Vital.
just for discussion purposes, this pavilion will be used for increased programming for the Recreation Department. It'll be used, a potential revenue source for, families can rent it on Saturday for family reunions and those types of things. But it's also for safety. If we get one of these summer thunderstorms that come through, lightning storms that come through, and there's kids out there on the softball field, on the soccer field, and they have no place to go right now, and here comes the lightning storms, this is a safety, a barrier that the kids can be a little bit safe as well. So I think there's many different reasons why the city needs this pavilion down there. So I'm strongly in favor of it.
Mr. Chair.
Councilor.
I'll concur with Councilor Vito. I used to inspect camps, summer camps, and there always was that issue, where we're going to put people if there's a thunderstorm. So that's a very good point. The other point I'd just like a plug maybe is to the DPW, and talking to Ted, it's amazing how they sometimes group together to build structures or fix something. They just all group together within all those divisions. So I expect, Mr. Mayor, is this what we're expecting on this project as well?
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. President.
So again, in full transparency, I've got a sheet here that says 35 grand, I don't need any matching money, I don't need anything else to get the project done. That's not true. So I don't know how you can approve that without knowing what the cost is or where the money's coming from. My opinion, but Finance Committee can do what they want.
Oh, Councilor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, there's, right, we have a predicament here with the fact that $35,000 is not going to cover the cost of this whole pavilion, right? We all know that. So for myself, approving these funds gets us closer to where we need to be. But obviously, there's a gap in funding. I hope we wouldn't go forward with a project that we don't have, plans to fund. So I'm also at a little bit of a loss. I feel like I'm kind of in between where everybody is. I'd love to see this project. I think, the idea of it sounds good, but without any concrete plans, without, an idea of how much this is going to cost, I'm a little uncomfortable accepting this grant, at this given time. But that's not to say that this isn't a project I don't want to see happen. I fear that maybe we're putting the cart before the horse, and when we don't have, kind of everything hatched out yet. I mean, maybe we do. Maybe we have more today to present, but from what I'm seeing, it doesn't seem like it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with what Councilor Fucillo just stated, that there's just too much unknown, and the grant amount sounds like it doesn't even cover half the amount of what it would cost to make the pavilion come to fruition. But I also wonder with short staffing and things like that, would it even be prudent to use our current manpower to do this? Would it be during business hours that it happened, or would it be outside of business hours? How would they be compensated if that were the case? So I hesitate to approve it for those types of reasons.
Yeah, understood. I'm not directly involved with the project, so I apologize for not having all the details. I do know that Dana Facilities had committed that they can certainly do this project with their own forces. It's well within their capability. As far as whatever the balance of the materials cost is above the 35, and I don't even know what that amount is. It may not be much more than that. I can't speak to that exactly, so I apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think we're going to miss an opportunity. We just approved a $754,000 budget, and we're not able to find if there's, say, a few thousand more. I question that. This is for our residents. This is for safety. I will support this 100%. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Motion has been made. I did second it to move the conversation by listening to other members on the committee. Motion was made and seconded. All in favor? 1, 2. All opposed? 3. It does not carry.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, Councilor Fitzgerald.
with the vote to not carry here, that doesn't mean this is, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chair, through you.
Yes.
That doesn't mean this is died. We could potentially postpone for more information. Is that correct?
It would depend on the expiration date of the grant. I might refer to President Ossing on that, because like President Ossing did point out, as we look through the earmarks, is a position being created? No. Is a matching funds created? No. President Ossing did point out some valuable points, but I'll revert to President Ossing on it.
So it's okay to go back and say we're going to table this one and ask the mayor for more information, because there's no deadline for when funds have to be expended. I'm assuming because there's state monies, we got to decide by the end of June. But you don't know what you're approving, so yeah, the project looks nice. Well, the budget's going to look nice too, but you got to know what you're approving. So I think it's a little not well-informed to make a decision to take money for a project you don't know what it's going to cost the city yet. So if you want to table it, you can make a since the first motion didn't carry, you can now make a motion to table for more information, and I'm sure the mayor will finish up the form with all the information that the council would need to make an informed decision.
Thank you, Mr. President. If the Finance Committee's positive reinforcement on that?
Motion to table based on the conversation.
Motion's been made to table for the pavilion at Gallonia Park and $35,000 grant amount. All in favor? That carries 5-0. Thank you, Council Fichillo and Council Orm. Next up is the procurement of an outreach city vehicle to be used by City Hall departments. And that earmarked grant amount is in the amount of $50,000. And I guess I will let the mayor speak on this, because it's the vehicle for the department, for the...
Sure. So this is a vehicle that's used by City Hall. So the building department as well as Board of Health are down numerous vehicles. So we threw this in as an earmark so City Hall could have an extra vehicle, so it wouldn't have to come out of our capital free cash regarding our capital improvement plan.
The question that I have, I understand that you know, the use of the vehicle. Question that I always have with bringing in more vehicles into the fleet of the city, with the city vehicles, is the maintenance cost and how many years down the road, the life of the vehicle, and insurance and everything that goes into owning a vehicle. So those are my reservations. No different than any other department that we scrutinize over when they're adding a vehicle to the fleet. But I will open that up for discussion for the Finance Committee. Councilor Orm.
Mr. Chair, if I may, through you to the mayor, what type of vehicle? Is it going to be electric or?
It'll be gas.
Gas. Well, then I agree with our chair that we may have to now look at other expenses such as repairs and so forth. But I would request maybe to look at the option of an electric vehicle if the repair costs are less. I had the experience of having an electric vehicle when I worked for the town of Ashland. 5 years, no problems. So again, it's just my suggestion, but thank you for your answer, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good points, Councilor Orm. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had some questions as far as you'd mentioned that we're down a couple of vehicles, it sounds like, in inspectional service types of places. Besides the vehicles utilized by, like DPW, police, fire, for City Hall employees, how many vehicles do we currently have in operation?
I would have to get you that number. I don't know off the top of my head for total.
Oh, okay.
But I can tell you the inspectional services is down 3 vehicles, and Board of Health is down at least 1. So all of Board of Health has shared 1 vehicle, and I believe inspectional service shares 1 vehicle as well. So.
And when you say inspectional services,
So the building department.
That could be, is that also like code enforcement?
Correct.
And, okay. And then what about like the veterans agent, conservation officer? Do they also utilize city vehicles right now, or?
I believe conservation does, veteran services does not.
Okay. I was just I was looking for, I guess, a little more information, like the other counselors had mentioned, about like type of vehicle and maintenance. So pending further discussion, I would also be interested, I'm going to move to table this one as well, just pending some additional information about how many cars we currently have in the fleet and what type of car we might be looking for, and what that might look like for running the vehicle and upkeep. Thank you.
That's your motion? Motion has been made, and to table the outreach city vehicle to be used by the City Hall Department in the amount of $50,000 grant. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been made. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the $50,000 grant. Any further discussion? Thank you, Mr. President. To table the $50,000 grant. Any further discussion? Councilor Facillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is historical knowledge before my time, so you guys might have to help me out. But from my understanding, Mayor Stevens did have a hybrid vehicle during her administration that was used similarly to what I feel like is in the mayor's letter, that it was used by city hall departments as needed. From my understanding, it was used by police chief if needed, building, whoever needed a vehicle, it was in the mayor's spot and they could take it. For lack of better words, the keys were in it and you could go. However, I feel that in the grant award, the notice of the grant award, that's very different language than what is being funded. This would be used as a mobile city hall. So I'm in favor of tabling it tonight, mostly because I feel like there's a discrepancy in use based on the letter and the grant award. So I would like to see when we come back, kind of what is the scope of this vehicle and what is its use going to be. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Good point, Councilor Facillo. No further discussion. Motion's been made and seconded to table the $50,000 grant in the form of an earmark for the vehicle to be used by City Hall Department. All in favor? That carries 5-0 as tabled. Next up is support the construction of a dog park at Galone Park for $35,000. Councilor Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Gentlemen, isn't the dog park done?
Yes. So, Counselor, yes, the construction is done. I'm going to take a second because I don't get the opportunity too much, to give another shout out to the engineering staff. So we happen to be doing this dog park project at the same time as two of our neighboring towns, and just kind of on the side following those two projects. The construction, the total costs were between $500,000 and $700,000 for each of their dog parks, including about close to $100,000 in design and construction oversight, which we did all the design and construction oversight in-house with the engineering and capital projects management staff. And so we put a project out to bid for, the low bid came in at just under $200,000. We did pull a few things like the amenities, like some of the benches, picnic table, the leash posts, the concrete wheel stops for the parking area. We pulled those out of the bid, but that was, if you recall, $150,000 in ARPA funding, and then the balance of that $197 was from the parks revolving account. So we did pull some of the final amenities out of that project, so that's what this grant would fund, is kind of like those finishing amenities that go inside the park. But it's, the construction is done.
It's wonderful. I mean, I'm noticing the one that Northborough's building down by our Westerly water plant
On Boundary
down there.
Street, yep.
And even though it's out in the middle of nowhere, it's, ours is going to be significantly better than theirs, in my opinion. So kudos to your staff for putting that in. Once we get the Dog Park Association together, I think it's going to be a great asset for the city.
Right.
Councilor Orem.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for all my friends out there to approve.
Motion
My dog friends.
Motion has been made to approve the grant in the form of earmarks in the amount of $35,000 for the dog park at Galone Park. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is replacement of the boiler at City Hall for $25,000. And this one is, I guess, interesting because we approved money earlier for, what, $120,000? Was that for the Walker bill?
That was for the Walker bill, so I'll try to speak for Ted on this one, too. Correct, you approved $120,000 for the Walker building boilers, and my understanding is that that project had some overruns, and I think, and Mark can chime in if I miss anything, but I think during that, the other boiler failed during that, or it became an emergency, and it became an overrun of that $120,000. So the thought at this time is to use this $25,000 instead of toward the project for the boilers here at City Hall to help finish that Walker building boiler project. The boilers at City Hall will continue to be on the capital plan for this building.
Which makes sense.
Yep.
Thank you, City Engineer DePercio. Any questions for the finance team? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the grant in the form of earmarks in the amount of $25,000 for replacement of the boiler at City Hall. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That carries 5-0. Next up is funding for the Marlborough Economic Development Corporation shuttle service in the amount of $200,000, which is, I'm hearing, very popular, and it's nice to be able to have access to these funds for the transportation. I will open that up for any discussion from the finance. Council Orm.
I'm glad it's successful. I'm just curious how the rider rate has gone up maybe over the past years.
So we have about 12 to 15 riders that take it. So it closes the last quarter mile of the last mile to the commuter rail. So it has 3 different stops at 3 different times. So it just circles in the morning and the afternoon commute.
And how many times does it go back to the the commuter rail?
I believe the schedule goes 3 different.
3 different times?
Correct.
Is it morning, noon, afternoon?
Morning and in the evening schedule shift. Oh. Yeah, before work, after work.
Okay, thank you.
Council Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is to expand the program. Where is the expansion going to take place?
It isn't not to expand the program, it's just to continue the program.
Oh, it's just to continue it, okay.
This is
When
done.
shall be expended, never mind. I stand corrected. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Council Vital. Council Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve the grant. I see the shuttle all the time when I go into Boston. I usually take the commuter rail, and to your point, it's usually whenever the express trains run, so 4 o'clock is usually an express train out. The shuttle's always there to get people, and very much enjoy seeing the shuttle back and forth. It's usually packed, and one of these days I'm going to have to give it a shot, so I appreciate it. And like I said, move to approve the grant.
Thank you, Council. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the grants in the form of earmarks in the amount of $200,000 to fund the Marlborough Economic Development Corporation shuttle service in the amount of $200,000. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That carries 5-0. Thank you. Next up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Engineer. Next up is order number 25-100-9405. Communication from the mayor, transfer of $63,600 from reserve for salaries to various accounts for salary and sick leave buyback for the mayor's office and police department. And I'll begin by reading the letter submitted by the mayor. Honorable President Ossing and councilors, enclosed for your review and approval is a transfer request in the amount of $63,600 from reserve for salary line item to the following salary line items: 1, Chief of Staff line item to cover exit payout of the prior Chief of Staff. 2, Executive Administrative to fund the position through the end of the fiscal year. And 3, Police sick leave buyback to cover the payout of a retiring employee of the Police Department. If you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. All right. Good evening once again, Mr. Mayor. I will, I don't know if you have any comments on this. I will open it up if the Finance Committee had, Councilor Brown.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering about the line item to cover the exit payout. The item is for $10,200. I was wondering, is that for a reimbursement or is it like a severance type of pay?
Vacation and sick time payout.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
So how many vacation days?
There was 2 weeks per year, so it's 5, 10, 15, 20 days. He used 1 week for last year, 1 week this year, and then he utilized all his personal days, which was another week for each.
So do you sign timesheets for your staff?
I do.
You do now, or you do?
I review the timesheets, correct. I get a report of timesheets.
Well, I get a report, but I physically have to sign a timesheet.
No, I do not sign. It's all electronic. I do not sign.
No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Motion to approve.
Motion's been made, and I will second that to approve order number 25-100-9405, transfer of $63,600 from reserve for salaries to various accounts for salary and sick leave buyback for the mayor's office and police department. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That carries 5-0.
Mr. Chair, is it time to motion to adjourn? I will motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? We are adjourned at
Thank you.
8:01 p.m. Thank you.